Many of us, we don't know the actual name of James Joyce is James Augustine Aloysius Joyce. And today we will see the biography of James Joyce. And next, we will be discussing on James Joyce's famous writing, that is Ulysses. So James Joyce uh, is an Irish novelist, short story writer, poet, teacher, and literary critic, and he especially has contributed to the movement of modernist upgrade movement. That is called the modernist movement. Upgrade movement means the movement that always keeps someone forward looking, and the time-winding spirit will be initiated to the motif of modernism. And James Joyce is one of the forerunners about such kind of upgrade movement or the forward, and he is influential writer of 20th century. And he was born in Rathgar, Ireland, and Rathgar is a district of Dublin, you can say, and died in 1941 in Zurich, Switzerland. And siblings Stanilas Joyce and his spouse Nora Barnance, children Lucia Joyce, Georgia Joyce, and the books, three books I have written over here. That is Ulysses, that was published in 1920, and Dubliners 1914, and the Portrait of the Artist 1916. That we have read in your 8th semester, most probably. I have forgotten. So this is in short the biography of James Joyce. And James Joyce's father was a very much profligate and also very much improvident, yeah, and careless about the monetary matter. And for this reason, James Joyce, along with his four other uh, brothers and sisters, they have troubled economic condition and the economic problem James Joyce has faced in his early life. And this is only because for the profligate character of James Joyce's father. However, for the cause of economic constraint, James Joyce had a very good education. He started in Clough College, a famous college, a prestigious college, and then next time he studied in Belvardo College, a Catholic day school in Dublin, and he graduated from University College Dublin in 1902. So for the cause of economic resistance, still uh, James Joyce had a very good education. But James Joyce was very much fascinated for the nationalistic convention by his father. And in 9 years old, James Joyce wrote a poem to commemorate a nationalistic leader of Ireland, and his name is Parnell's. And the title of this poem, that is 9-year-old child's poem, Ep to Heli, which denounced the oaths of the turncoats and one vision, that is Stephen Dedalus. Stephen Dedalus, most probably you can remember the character, the Stephen Dedalus, the very profligate and unpredictable character, Stephen Dedalus. A portrait of the artist as a young man cites for leaving Ireland. He is fear that the country will always destroy its profits. So Parnell was a political and nationalistic leader in Ireland, and for the cause of revolution, he had to surrender. And when he surrendered, he had to resign from the chief position of that party, the nationalistic party. And that incident initiated much, that initiated shocked James Joyce much in his nationalistic attitude, and he became visionary. And for this reason, he left Ireland and went somewhere else, in just like the character Stephen did. At University College Dublin, Joyce openly espoused a number of unpopular causes. He insisted upon the work of the Henrik Ibsen, considered an anathema by conservative Dublin Catholics. So Henry Ibsen, a very Irish, a very important Irish dramatist, and this dramatist was acclaimed negatively by James Joyce. Why? And according to James Joyce, that Henrik Ibsen is very much supportive to the conservative Dublin Catholics, and we know that James Joyce was not, I would say, not a direct supporter of Roman Catholicism. But in case of Ireland, there was a constant fight between these two groups, between these two religious groups. That is the situation. At the age of 18, he published an article on Ibsen new drama in the Fortnightly Review. In 1900, he delivered a paper, Drama and Life, and before the Literary and Historical Society of the college, he advocates modern dramatists as opposed to Shakespeare and the Greeks. So James Joyce had intention that the European had a tradition of literary glorified tradition. And for this reason, Ireland was a very nationalistic country. And always Ireland had an intention that they will be getting relief from the tyranny role of England. And for this reason, the people of Ireland, the dramatists of Ireland, always tried to establish their own, own theme and aspects in drama written by the Irish dramatists. And that very incident was criticized by James Joyce, and advocate modern dramatists as opposed to Shakespeare and the Greeks. So Shakespeare and the Greek dramatists, they are famous in their literary critique. Irish dramatic tradition has been following a opposite way, and that was acclaimed again negatively by James Joyce. And James Joyce's article, The Day of the Revelment, denounced the beginning of Irish theatre movement that we have discussed much earlier, that Irish established their own theatre, that is the Dublin Theatre, and that was initiated by many dramatists named Lady Gregory, William Butler Yeats, and the other leaders of Irish literary theatre. And it seems to Joyce that such kind of drama or the dramatic movement is very much regional. So such kind of regional thing cannot compete the classic characteristics of European drama or in Greek drama. This is the attitude of James Joyce. After he left the university in 1902, James Joyce went to Paris to study medicine and to write. As I have mentioned a little bit earlier, that James Joyce left Ireland because only one attitude, that early in his age he saw that the nationalistic leader had to surrender from his position, or had to resign from his position. And next time, the drama movements and the literary movement initiated was very much Irish nationalistic, and such kind of attitude was not good to, was not sounded good to James Joyce. And for this reason, this is one reason that he went to Zurich to study medicine and to write, to have a good time. After a brief time, he returned to Ireland once again, and they left for Paris again in 1903 with the intention of devoting himself to full-time literary endeavors. So a writer will always be a writer. In every of his or her action will delve into the aspects of writing. So the way and the thinking, James Joyce had to leave Ireland and went to Zurich Paris for the case of study, and next time, once again, he went to Paris to have a full time, a free time for writing in the university. He returned to Dublin when his father's telegram of April 10, 1940 announced his mother's immediate death. He died of cancer on August 13, 1903. Joyce's mother of drifting in Dublin ended with the first days of 1904 when he seriously returned to his writing. And in June of the year, Joyce met Nora Barnacle, Barnacle, or a 20-year-old Galloway woman, and with whom he has to spend the rest of his life. The famous Broomsday in Ulysses, June 16, is probably the day on which Joyce discovered that he was in love with Nora. In October 1904, they left for Zurich, where Joyce had been promised a position teaching at the Berlitz School. So, the period from October 1904, which Joyce arrived in Zurich to find the administrator of the Berlitz School, he had never heard of this application. Though the end of the June, through the end of the June 1915, when Joyce became out because of the World War, decided to leave Trieste city in Italy, and to return to Zurich to take up his residence, and was a mixed one for Joyce. On the debit side, one can place several items. Joyce's dislike of Pola, Rome, and Trieste, his last being his chief habitants during the 10 years 1904 to 15. Several years of delay in the publication of Dubliner, which was finally printed in 1914. A lie told to Joyce by his and the failure in 1909 in Dublin of Joyce's venture into the cinema business, the cinematograph of Volta, balanced against these disappointments, however, were the birth of his son, Gio- Gio- Giorgio, in 1905, and the birth of his daughter, Lucia Anna, in 1907, and the supports of EX founds Dora Madderson, who agreed to publish a portrait of the artist of a young man in series from his review, The Egoist, between February 2, 1914, and the September 1, 1915. And Joyce's financial situation improved considerably in Zurich, Switzerland. Through contact, he tutored several language students, and with the help of the pounds and years, he secured a grant from the Royal Literary Fund. Of greater importance, however, were two patrons, Harriet Shaw Weaver, whose support of Joyce began in February in 1917, and Edith Rockefeller McCormick, an American living in Zurich, whose large stipend ran from March 1918 until September. So Miss Weaver, in addition, formed the Egoist Press to publish an English edition of A Portrait of the Artist. In 1917, after B.W. Hobson, a New York, had issued the novel in 1916, installment of Ulysses appeared in the Little Review in the New York from March 1918 until December 1920, and Joyce's play Exile was published in 1918. So, with the improvement of his lifestyle, Joyce lost much of his bitterness towards the Ireland, which he had decided never to visit after 1912. In addition, in Zurich, he stepped up his attack upon the English language, the restructuring of the traditional means of expression. Two clouds, however, did partially marred the relatively secure Zurich days. At the end of the 1918 and the start of 1918, he began a tepid affair with a Swiss woman named Martha Fletch, Fleischmann. She was Joyce's prototype for Martha Clifford in Ulysses, which ended sadly. And in August 1917, Joyce began undergoing the first of the 11 eye operation. So he had a problematic eye, and for this reason, he had to go through the operation process 11 times. That is the first time, and were to continue for 15 years. He left Zurich for Trieste in October 1919, and then, at Pound's urging, he decided in the late spring of 1990, 1920 to move to Paris, and the city in which he was to spend the next 19 years. Joyce was relatively happy during his first years with the cosmopolitan city. Pound had arranged to have Joyce's books translated into French, and he felt that Paris was the best place to launch Ulysses, our novel, that means we are going to read today. One friend lent Joyce a free flat, others clothing and furniture. As you know, that the great writer becomes always poor. Same thing happens to Joyce. The well-known critic Valerly Larbaud gave a public lecture on Ulysses 2 months before its publication, and the novel was finally published on Joyce's 40th birthday, February the 2nd, 1922, by Sylvia Beach Shakespeare and Company. So this is next time he published Finnegan's Wake, that was not critiqued highly positively. It was critiqued negatively. And Joyce died on 13 January 1941 as a result of an undiagnosed duodenal ulcer, and he is buried in the Pluton Cemetery, which rises above Zurich. So that is in short the biography of James Joyce. James Joyce is an Irish novelist, poet, and storyteller, and he wrote Ulysses out of his many dramatist. So this is the biography